That's not a way to start a video, is it? Good stuff. We're going to try and structure this video somewhat coherently, but every time I go to film a video about a theatre show I've been to see, it takes 3 times to get it right, and even on the 3rd time it's still not great, but it will do. So trial and error. So it's Sunday the 4th of March, and last night I went to go and see Eugenius. This is a new musical that has been running at the Other Palace in London for like 6 weeks, I think. It was a really strictly limited run, and I'd been wanting to see it as long as it had been announced, but I just never got around to it because funds are limited when you're a uni student and life gets in the way, and I just never got around to seeing it. And my friend Ollie was like, oh, I have a spare ticket for the last show, which was last night. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go to that. So last night I witnessed the phenomenal piece of theatre that is Eugenius, and oh my goodness, where has this been all my life? The energy from seeing a last show I have not actually witnessed. I saw one of the last shows for Billy Elliot because it was one of the boys' final performances, because I saw the show 3 days before it closed, and that was quite energetic. But this was the last show for everyone there, and oh my goodness, the energy was so palpable. Like, I went into theatre and everyone was buzzing with excitement, cast were on fire that night. Oh my, it was so emotional at the end. It was just another level. I nearly cried last night. It got very emotional at the end when everyone was like so happy and the audience were on their feet and you could see the pure joy on the cast's face. Oh, it made me so happy. The only thing is I am very angry at myself because I left it to the last show to see this, and after seeing the last show I now want to go back and see it another 400 times, and I can't do that because it's closed. So I'm hoping and praying that it comes back to London for a more permanent run, or goes on tour for the rest of my life, because I need to see it like another 400 times. I'm obsessed. Obsessed. So Eugenius is unlike any musical I have ever seen. It is completely different, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think there is a show out there really that similar at all to Eugenius. I think that's what the theatre world needs. It needs more different, unusual pieces of theatre. The world needs new stuff and different stuff every so often. It doesn't need the same thing over and over again, and that's not me saying that all theatre is the same. I'm just saying that sometimes you need something completely different that's unlike anything you've ever heard before. Okay, so firstly, the music. The show is set in the 80s. Someone was just stood outside my door listening to me film, and they've just gone into the kitchen because I'm right next to the kitchen. Great. I don't mind my flatmates hearing me film, that's fine. They're used to me being a lunatic by now, but it's a bit weird when someone stood outside the door listening. But the music, the 80s was what I grew up with. My mum didn't really listen to anything post 80s when I was a kid, up till I was about 12, 13. So up until 12, 13, all I knew was 80s and before. So I love the 80s music and the whole 80s aesthetic, like the clothing, the music, the Breakfast Club, Flashdance, Dirty Dancing, all the stuff made in the 80s I adore. So I knew I was going to love the soundtrack / cast recording as soon as I knew it was from the 80s. But they've made the music perfectly, like the lyrics, the style of the songs, the way that like it flows from one song into the next. It's so clever, I absolutely love it. Not only that, the songs are ridiculously catchy. I've had Go Eugenius stuck in my head since I saw the show yesterday, and I still have it stuck in my head like nearly 24 hours later. I'm not complaining, but it's insane. The fact that the music has been in my head for that long and I haven't forgotten it shows they're doing something right. Last night, I literally stepped straight out of the theatre and I saw a woman there selling a programme and a soundtrack. I caved. I bought the programme and the soundtrack as soon as I came out, and this has been on repeat all morning. My flatmates are probably like, what is she listening to? Can she listen to something different? So they're sick of hearing this, I'm sure. I'm not sick of it. They need to listen to it. They need to love it. Go listen to this. It's amazing. Go and listen to the soundtrack. I don't think you can get the CD. I think you can only get that at the show. You can listen to it on iTunes, and it's on Spotify, and they have little bits and pieces on their YouTube channel. So go and immerse yourself in Eugenius, please. Okay, so next is the plot. The plot is, without giving too much away, essentially there is a teenage boy at school who draws / writes comic books, and this one comic book in particular about a superhero called Tough Man. And one day his comic gets picked up by someone who works in Hollywood, and they want to make a film out of it, and so he flies over to Hollywood to turn his comic book into a film, and his whole life changes. That is essentially the plot, but that is also the tip of the iceberg. I can't say what happens because the whole plot will get spoiled, but it is amazing. I feel like this is the kind of show that everyone will love. Whether you're 8 or 80, you can bring your mum, you can bring your dad, you can bring your best friend, you can bring your pet dog, whoever you are, you're going to like this show. The thing I really like is that the main 3 characters in the show are geeks. Their word, not mine, they are geeks. And that makes my heart really happy because I am a massive geek and relate strongly to these characters. I just think the plot itself is flawless. That might just be me being like obsessed. So someone who actually like reviews theatre for a living might disagree with me, but my personal opinion is that the plot is flawless. Okay, so costumes, set, lighting, also very 80s, and they have done that perfectly. Surprise, surprise, I'm gonna say it's done perfectly because it is. It is done perfectly. I find that the staging was quite unusual, but I liked it very much. Like you had kind of like 3 layers of stage where, I'll put a photo here, you had like 3 layers of stage where you had the staging with some steps, another bit of staging, some steps, and then another bit of staging, and then you had the 2 orchestra parts either side of the top set of the stage, and it was a very unusual setting. I'd never really seen anything like that before, but it worked really well because of the way that the characters used that staging, and it fits in with the plot and the 80s/sci-fi theme. There's a lot of suspension of disbelief within the theatre. Like a lot of the time you have to understand that what you're seeing is a work of fiction or a piece of theatre, not a piece of reality, if that makes sense. You have to suspend disbelief quite a lot in some shows, which is fine, but I feel like in this show you didn't need to suspend disbelief at all because it was so realistic, like down to every detail. Everything was just perfect. You truly felt like you were back in the 80s, especially with the references used within the scripting. There was a lot of references to 80s culture at that time, so you had stuff like nobody puts baby in the corner, and there was a dance that one of the main characters does that's been pulled straight out of Flashdance near enough. For me, I felt like I was just transported back in time to the 80s. And finally that brings us on to the cast. This cast, I love them. I recognised some of the faces because they came from the Addams Family, which I also saw. Main lead role was played by someone called Liam Ford. His voice is amazing, like holy moly. And the show is really energetic, like from the opening note of the orchestra to the very last note that is performed, they gave 110% of energy. Like it's such an energetic show, from the songs to the choreography to the acting, and not once did the energy levels drop at all. And the energy was so palpable. Like I came out of the show at the end and I was like bouncing off the walls because I had all this energy and nothing to do with it, because like that's just the energy I radiated from the cast. It just bounced off into me. And I know I sound like a weird hippie lunatic now. Makes sense in my mind. Let me think that. I honestly can't find a flaw in the show to talk about other than the fact that it's ending. That's the only flaw. It's ending. The choreography was so impressive. I want to learn it. I can't dance, but I need to learn the choreography so I can do it alone in my bedroom because it was so cool. And I utterly adore all of the characters with every fibre of my being. There's not a single character I didn't love. I think that's everything I want to say. See, I did say to you this video wouldn't be very coherent, and it wasn't. It was just me excitedly chattering for like 10 minutes or whatever it is, like all my other videos are. By now I'm sure everyone's used to it. So Eugenius, please come back to London, or at least go on tour. I won't be happy until it comes back somehow. In the meantime, I'm going to carry on doing what I was doing before I filmed this video and what I have been doing all morning. Blasting the cast recording, winding my flatmates up by scream singing it, and dancing around in my room, pretending I'm in the show when I'm not. Can't stop us, we're a team, we won't give up on Eugene, the future will be brighter. If we don't shoot for the stars, shoot higher. Just listen to the crowd, I hear them say, now you know why I don't go out into clubs, because I look like that. This is why I go to the theatre and not the club. Bye!